Imagine you wake up to quiet desert light pulling across stone floors, the kind of morning that makes even shadows look expensive. And the house is so perfectly tuned to your life that it feels less like a building and more like a command center. Warm coffee already waiting, screens glowing with calendars and contracts, staff moving with the choreography of a five-star hotel. That is Kris Jenner at daybreak. Not just a mother, not just a celebrity, but the architect of a pop culture empire that reshaped how fame is built, monetized, and multiplied. She is the matriarch who turned a family name into a global luxury label, the manager who transformed personal moments into media properties, the investor with razor-sharp timing, and the woman who sits at the crossroad of glamour and logistics with a grin that says, "What's next?" When people call her the mastermind behind the Kardashian-Jenner dynasty, they're not exaggerating. They're simply trying to summarize a career that refuses to fit in a headline. She took a reality concept and engineered a multiverse. Television, beauty, fashion, fragrance, licensing, appearances, publishing, product collaborations, brand equity on demand, layered it with relentless work ethic and a mother's protectiveness, and built something that still hums, still scales, still sells. Through it all, she learned to treat visibility like currency and attention like oxygen, and she spends both with precision. The numbers tell the story in one language. Show checks that used to land near $1 million per episode, whispered about season payouts that read like film studio budgets, management fees and equity tranches that snowball into tens of millions. But the lifestyle tells it in another. 2 coasts of comfort, a calendar of private flights, a Rolodex of fashion houses on speed dial, homes designed as sanctuaries and stages, and a garage that roars like an orchestra when it comes to life. Yet none of that started in marble foyers or at the end of red carpets. It started in a San Diego childhood, stitched together by a mother who did what mothers do. Figured it out. Parents separated, a new stepfather, a reshuffled household. Early lessons in flexibility, survival, reading rooms and reading people. She graduated, hustled, learned service at altitude as a flight attendant, learned service at ground level as a person who said yes to jobs that kept the lights on. The big break was not a single moment of lightning, but a cloud gathering over years. Relationships, introductions, a certain energy in the house that producers and guests felt the minute they crossed the threshold. The family was funny, aspirational, combustible, entrepreneurial. It looked like television waiting to happen. The pilot flame became Keeping Up with the Kardashians, a weekly masterclass in packaging life as entertainment, and from there came the spin-offs, the partnerships, the brand lines that followed like tributaries off a booming river. Every storyline, whether chaotic or charming, was turned over like a stone to see what lived beneath it. An opportunity to build, a chance to sell, a moment to shape the narrative rather than chase it. If anyone mistook this for luck, the spreadsheet corrected them. This was strategy, discipline, and the infinite patience required to turn public curiosity into a professionally managed asset. The franchise matured, moved platforms, changed tones, upgraded wardrobes, upgraded deals, always watching where culture headed and setting up shop one step ahead. While cameras captured the glamorous angles, spreadsheets captured the guts. Percentages negotiated, management cuts stacked, stakes taken in brands that could scale beyond celebrity, checks accepted in cash but also in equity because ownership outlives a storyline. That is how a mother's title became momager and how a single family became a diversified portfolio. Her homes tell the same story in architecture. For several years, there was the Calabasas masterpiece, the kind of property designed to inhale sunlight and exhale calm, where steel and glass meet walnut and warmth. It sat on a broad parcel that kept the world at arm's length, while inside the rooms flowed like a runway, kitchen to breakfast, nook to great room, so that life could be lived in one smooth take. You can picture her at the kitchen island, phone to ear, a chef behind her plating a late lunch, a producer texting updates about tomorrow, someone bringing over a rack of looks for a fitting in the living room, and a granddaughter laughing because the theater just lit up for a surprise screening. Floor-to-ceiling windows turned the day into decor. At night, the pool caught the stars and kept them shimmering just for the house. That first-floor primary suite wasn't just a bedroom. It was a cockpit. Organized closets labeled with a stylist's precision, a bathroom ready for glam teams, a desk for final notes on an upcoming call sheet. When that home sold, it sold the way Kris tends to do everything: quietly, efficiently, profitably. Then there is the La Quinta retreat in the Madison Club, a property that an estate agent might describe as amenity-rich, but that lives more like a resort blended with a spa. 7 bedrooms for children and guests and grandchildren and best friends who are basically family. A wellness wing that actually means wellness, infrared heat, steam drifting like silk, floors that radiate warmth under bare feet after an early swim, and spaces designed to bring your heart rate down even as the business continues to accelerate. The kitchen is 2 kitchens, the one where cooking happens and the one where entertaining happens, divided by the boundary only designers can see. And the outdoor dining table plays host to evenings that feel like a scene from an ad. A long table, laughter at both ends, candles flickering, the desert sky turning from cobalt to ink. Walk outside and the pool pretends not to end, its edges dissolving into fairways and mountains, while fire features spark their own constellations after sundown. The house is quiet, but it is not still. It listens to you. Lighting warms at the hour you prefer it. Cooling zones remember where you like the air to kiss your skin. Panels and screens route news and calls, and security like a backstage. Technology made invisible so life can shine. It is efficient by design because she thinks about the bill as well as the view. Solar on the roof, serious electrical infrastructure humming beneath the floors. Systems that are the home equivalent of a private driver. Always there, never seen. Slide into the garage and the story changes from square footage to horsepower. The Rolls-Royce hums like a velvet promise. Its V12 tuned not for noise but for authority, the cabin closing around you like a luxurious whisper. The headliner simulates a galaxy because some days you need a reminder, while you're crossing Los Angeles at dusk, that good fortune can look like a sky full of diamonds. The Mercedes-AMG G-Class waits next to it like a tailored suit that still remembers its military roots. Boxy and proud, brutally capable, then unexpectedly delicate as it glides over potholes that don't exist in her zip code, but might show up on the way to a set. A Range Rover sits ready for practicality disguised as prestige. School runs, site visits, a dash to a design studio. Plush but unpretentious by the standards of a fleet that includes Ferraris. Speaking of which, there's a California that still makes the garage smell like afternoon drives on the PCH. And there is the crimson 488 that arrived with cameras rolling and a daughter's grin. A gift that felt like the universe handing you a bouquet of roses shaped like a V8. Start it and you understand why some people go to Italy just to listen. Each car has a job. Image, arrival, escape, joy, and together they telegraph a message. The road does not control my day, I control the road. On days when the road is the wrong answer, the runway is the right one. Kris thinks in flight paths because it saves the one thing wealth can't replenish: time. Private aviation is not access to her, it is ergonomics. Work in Los Angeles at noon, toast in New York by 9, home by midnight with the skincare routine still done, and the inbox already drained. A mid-sized jet with a serious speed figure and seating for the entourage is less a splurge than a vehicle for continuity. The cabin becomes an office with clouds for walls, call logs reviewed, contracts annotated, schedules restacked, family group texts answered, a short nap taken between to-do lists, so that you land not just in a new place, but in a new phase of the day already prepped. Shopping for most people is acquisition. For Kris, it's curation and signaling. She collects objects that speak fluently in the language of legacy. The watch that holds its value as years pass and fashion shifts. The bag that is more asset than accessory. The bracelet that glints like a promise in a boardroom. She is a student of maison that takes centuries seriously. Hermès, Cartier, Rolex, Patek Philippe. And she treats their classics as a painter treats pigments. There's the Birkin in a black grain that goes with everything, and the Birkin in a color that goes with nerve. There is the rare skin that turns a handbag into a headline, and the limited palette that makes a wait list feel like a rite of passage. Jewelry too. earns its keep by making statements you never have to say out loud. A gold cuff that reads like confidence. A diamond-set bezel that tells time and tells taste. A sculptural watch whose offbeat silhouette says you can afford to be interesting. The point is not price, it's permanence. You buy pieces that reportedly cost the way people talk about houses, but you buy them with the knowledge that your granddaughter might one day fasten that clasp for a gala that hasn't been invented yet. On water, the script continues. Mega yachts are villas that move, and when you step onto one, the temperature of your day changes. Teak deck underfoot, tender skimming like a dragonfly. Staff whose job is to make sure you never see the hard work it takes to make ease look effortless. The stateroom sleeps better than home because the ocean knows how to rock a grown woman to sleep. Jacuzzis on the sun deck catch the sunset and hold it until the first stars elbow in, and dinner stretches as long as the horizon. Charter fees read like small fortunes, but what they buy is not just luxury. It is a vacuum seal around your schedule and your privacy. An entire week where no comes easier, where mornings begin with the sea and end with family. If this sounds like a fairy tale, it is one written in the margins of contracts and etched into the edges of difficult days. Behind all of it are chapters that were not gilded. A young marriage that went public because of a courtroom that belonged to someone else. A divorce that complicates your 20s when most people are still figuring out where to live. Mistakes made and admitted because there is power in candor. A second marriage that built a new branch of family and then bent under pressure, both personal and profound. The world learned new language and new understanding when someone close to her transitioned publicly. Families learn that love has to be larger than labels if it is going to last. Through it all, Kris turned toward the center. Children first, then business, then back to the dinner table, moving with a steadiness that made even chaos look manageable. She has known fear the way anyone does who has sat in a doctor's office and heard a long word that ends in "oma." And she has known relief the way only survivors do when the future gets handed back across a surgeon's smile. If cosmetic tweaks and camera-ready prep are part of the job, then she treats them like maintenance, the same way you change the oil in a car that still needs to go the distance. And the distance matters because the grandchildren are multiplying like exclamation points. Birthdays become festivals in that family. Balloons and sparklers, and matched pajamas and cousins who already understand the choreography of a camera. And the grandmother at the center takes role, spoils everyone equally, and still makes the 7 a.m. call time. Day to day, the operation is equal parts tenderness and triage. Morning in La Quinta or Hidden Hills begins with family texts and ends with family toasts. But between those bookends, the hours are mercilessly efficient. A brand call at 8:15 for a product launch move-up, an estate walkthrough at 9:30 to confirm stone samples because the wrong beige is a sin, a docuseries beat sheet at 10:45 to make sure reality remembers its beats, a legal review at noon because a comma can cost 6 figures, lunch at the kitchen table with a granddaughter who has opinions about sprinkles, a glam touch-up, then a zoom into Europe for a fragrance-lined concept that will smell like a hotel lobby in heaven. Production decisions are logistical puzzles she solved 1,000 times. What looks like spontaneity on screen is a ballet of yeses and not todays, of last-minute wardrobe swaps and a gut instinct about when to say, "We're done for now." She knows when to push and when to pivot. She knows which brands need the face and which need the force. She knows when a CEO wants a selfie and when they want a spreadsheet, when to put the family name first and when to step back, because the next generation needs to plant its own flag. She is a deal maker who can tell you, within 10 minutes of sitting down, whether a partnership is product market fit or just a press release with a shelf life. The word manager undersells it. What she manages is not just schedules, but ecosystems. The beauty play was always the clearest proof of concept. Build audience, convert to demand, take equity, scale. When the right conglomerate calls, you convert sweat equity to liquidity without surrendering the narrative. And you keep a slice that grows as the pie does. Publishing became a credential and a conversation starter. Lifestyle content evolved into lifestyle commerce. A show turned into a syndication of influence that behaves like its own modern media network. Real estate, wisely chosen and even more wisely improved, performs double duty as both home and balance sheet instrument. You can love a house and still sell it when the time is right. You can love another house the following summer. Every asset does a job: shelter, status, yield, and the portfolio is healthy because the person running it understands that cash flow lives next to sentiment, not beneath it. The same discipline applies to the collection in her closet. Luxury items are not just trophies, they're tools. A classic bag isn't simply an adornment, it's a uniform for being taken seriously in rooms where seriousness is measured in deal size. A watch with stones is not just sparkle, it's shorthand for "I know what this is worth and I know what I'm worth." If she posts a look, the post is not just content, it's andante marketing that keeps perception and price moving in sync. And still, strip away the settings and the sets, and you find a kitchen island where the real business of her life happens. Kids walking in without knocking, because why would they? Grandkids tugging at sleeves. The noise of a family that never learned to whisper and never needed to. There's always a bowl of something good within reach, and always a conversation shifting from the personal to the professional and back again, because in this family, those lanes were braided a long time ago. She is the one who remembers everyone's flights and everyone's sensitivities, who can order a craft services spread that satisfies a vegan, a picky eater, and someone on day one of a cleanse, who can pivot an entire production day to accommodate a toddler's nap and still wrap on time. She knows which daughter needs a pep talk and which needs data, which son likes a quiet nod and which wants a bear hug. If you ask her what her most valuable asset is, she might say family. And for once, the cliche would be true. Strip away the cameras and what remains is a mother who raised 6 entrepreneurs and somehow taught them to be each other's safety net. By night, the house resets. The pool pretends to be a mirror for the moon, the phones finally lose their grip, and the woman who guided an empire through another day walks past a wall of family photos that tell the story in frames, Halloween costumes that turned into Pinterest boards, Christmas mornings that turned into internet holidays, 1,000 candid smiles that became currency but still feel like home. She'll set a bracelet on the nightstand, and the last screen goes dark, and tomorrow the machine will whir again. Calls, cars, cameras, contracts. But for a moment there is just quiet and the soft knowledge that none of this was accidental. It was engineered, protected, and perfected. The mansions and the jet and the yacht decks glitter because the engine underneath was built to last. This is Kris Jenner's life, a study in turning attention into equity, equity into lifestyle, lifestyle into legacy. And in the glow of that legacy are daughters with their own brands and sons with their own plans and grandchildren who will grow up thinking it's normal to be both loved and leveraged in the best sense of the word. If you felt that, you're in the right place. This is Affluence Influenced, where we decode the playbook behind power, wealth, and the people who make both look effortless. If you want more deep dive narratives like this one, hit subscribe, drop a like, and tell us who to profile next.